The end of March oil spill in Mayflower has led to weeks worth of twists and turns as new information comes to light. Residents displaced, the size of the Pegasus pipeline rupture larger than expected, and environmental damage that may not yet be known. More questions than answers at this juncture. Joining me to discuss the state's investigation of this disaster is Arkansas Attorney General Dustin McDaniel. Welcome to the program. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
I think the biggest revelation this week to me was the fact that the rupture in the pipeline was 22 feet long. It just indicates that this was not something that eroded slowly over a period of time, that something maybe perhaps major happened. Have you been able to determine anything more about the size of that and the importance of that?
Well, I've tried to not make unfounded steps from one fact to the next. There is no question but that the rupture is substantially larger than we would have expected, certainly than I would have expected. 22 feet is a big gash in a pipeline. This is not some small crack, and I wouldn't think something that had come to exist gradually, but I'm no pipeline expert. I don't know that. What I do know is that, as I have said continually throughout this, the more I learn, the more questions come up. And so I want to know more about pressure and other things that I did not know before.
So tell me a little bit about you went and got the 13,000, almost 13,000 pages of documents came into play here. You've had about 48 hours, maybe a little bit more than that, to actually look at some of those, go through some of those documents. Has anything kind of come to light already from that quick review and preview of what you've been looking at?
I met with lawyers and investigators that have been going through the initial review earlier today. It's very technical. There's a lot of industry jargon and codes and things that frankly we're going to need to get help from Exxon to decipher. I'm not prepared to make any comments or characterizations about what we've got so far, because I think it would be pretty incomplete, other than to say I do appreciate the speed with which they worked on my request, the promptness with which they delivered so much information, and they have continually assured me that if and when I want more, they will respond quickly, and I expect that I will want a lot more.
A question that a lot of people are asking is, why does ExxonMobil appear to be in charge of the whole containment area and the public relations and communications around this? I know there's federal agencies and state agencies involved, but can you explain why that perception is out there, and is perception reality, I guess?
Well, I would not say that the perception is reality so much. You have a four-pronged administration at the Joint Command Center, which is state, county, and federal, and the responsible party, which is Exxon. So you've got state, county, and federal government agencies directing the operation, and Exxon simply paying for all of it. They are only 1/4 of the decision-making authority, but they are 100% of the cost responsible party. So to that end, they're on the short end of the stick. But I would leave it to the media to characterize how their PR has gone this week. I'm not in their PR shop. I will say that we spent a day last week just trying to clarify to the press that the temporary flight restriction, which is a standard thing that is set up above a disaster area to keep sightseers and private pilots such as myself from flying in and out of there just out of curiosity, from interfering with the media and emergency services aircraft and construction aircraft. You know, the TFR specifically allowed for the media, and yet a day went by where it looked like Exxon had put a no-fly zone to keep cameras out of their airspace, and that they were controlling the airspace. So something that should have been pretty standard became a PR problem that still lasts to this day. So yeah, those things have happened, but I'm busy tending to the cleanup, I'm busy tending to the investigation, and I'm busy dealing with their lawyers, and I let the PR guys figure out how to better communicate with the public.
I heard a spokesman for ExxonMobil on Friday morning say that the cleanup was contained to basically a marsh area at this point in time. It still strikes me as that it's much larger than that. Is that where does it stand today, to your knowledge?
I think that again falls within some PR. I don't want to say missteps, and I don't want to say mischaracterizations, but confusion that probably is unnecessary. Look, we're lucky that a substantial amount of this oil is not out in the main channel of Lake Conway. We're lucky that this oil is not lapping up on every bank in Lake Conway, but there's no question but that the Cove area, which is marshy, but it's also part of Lake Conway. It also happens to be, very fortunately, divided from the main channel by an earthen dam, culverts, and a highway. And so very quickly, those were filled in, and the free flow of water from one side of the road to the other was interrupted. But when the footage that I've seen hundreds of times of helicopters flying over a lake with oil in it, and then you see somebody saying the oil is not in Lake Conway, well, what body of water is that they say is on television?
Yeah.
You know, so instead of focusing on the good things that are happening, which are legitimate containment, hard efforts 24/7 at cleanup, the fact that, you know, when I talked to them the day before yesterday when we were expecting the tornadoes, and I wanted to know the storm integrity of the storage containers, you know, God forbid if a tornado actually hit the staging area where we have all these thousands of barrels of oil and water and dirt contained, how secure is that? They've done a great job. In my opinion, it could have almost withstood a direct hit from a tornado, and we didn't have it, and I'm grateful for that. The story of how good things have been going as compared to how not good things have been going has just gotten to be its own thing, and I've tried to stay out of it.
You have asked for $4 million to help with investigative expenses from ExxonMobil. Have they given you any indication yet if they're going to pay that? How did you come to that number, and do you think it's going to be enough?
Well, the first contract that we've signed is with James Lee Witt and his firm, Witt O'Brien's, a globally recognized disaster response team. We have experts that have worked dozens of oil spills or more, I guess, domestically and abroad. We have them on site right now. If every member of that team is working, I think it would probably be $2,400 an hour. We're upwards of $650,000. It would be the anticipated cost of that contract alone. We have air quality testing that I want done independently. You know, for instance, setting up an air quality monitor on a street with the wind blowing up and down the street to determine whether certain carcinogens are present is good, and that's important. But that's a whole separate thing from setting up an air quality monitor inside someone's house to test whether or not the air will just make you sick to your stomach. It may not have cancer-causing chemicals at a level that the federal government says are immediately life-threatening, but that doesn't mean you want to live there either. Mm-hmm. And so there are a whole broad array of things I want done. So to get to that point, we tried to estimate the cost and then add some to it. $4 million, I wouldn't say was arbitrary by any means, but it's also one that I think would cover the cost but leave room for what more may come.
Do you see a scenario where ExxonMobil buys these homes out from these residents that have been displaced, or is that asking you to look too much into a crystal ball?
Well, I wouldn't want to look into a crystal ball, and I wouldn't want to pretend to be the private counsel for the homeowners. And what an individual homeowner may want or believe is fair for his or her damages, I will leave to them. But I don't think that it's any secret that a lot of people, including myself, believe that the property damages should go well beyond the single street down which the oil was flowing, and that a comprehensive approach to that neighborhood should certainly be in the discussion pipeline sooner rather than later. No pun intended.
Can you tell at this point in time if this is going to be a litigation situation or a settlement situation?
No, I can't tell that now.
I can't let you get out of here with asking you at least one political question beyond an oil spill, okay? It is the worst kept political secret in Arkansas politics right now that Mike Ross is going to make an announcement on Wednesday, presumably for governor. You've got Bill Halter already declared as a Democratic nominee. You may have John Burkhalter, Arkansas Highway Commissioner, get into that race. Do you have a preference? Will you throw your support behind one of those candidates? What do you think of Mike Ross getting in the race?
I think me being out of the race for governor leaves me in a position to where I really should be out of the race for governor.
That's all right. He's Attorney General Dustin McDaniel. I appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on the program.
Thanks so much.
All right.